My boyfriend David took my passport and won't let me leave his house. But what happened next will shock you. Turns out everyone sided with him, a 31-year-old accountant, over one tiny joke. I'm sitting here staring at the dead-bolted front door, thinking, how did my life turn into this nightmare? Every window has those stupid child safety locks David installed last month, and now I know why. My phone keeps buzzing with messages, but not the kind I want to see. The bathroom window won't budge either. I tried calling my sister Emma first, and she actually picked up, which gave me hope until she said, "Jessica, I can't help you with this one," and hung up. Then I called my mom and she said, "Maybe you should think about what you did," before the line went dead. Even my best friend Carla from college texted back, "I saw the video everyone's talking about and honestly, I'm speechless." What video? What are they all referring to? All I did was make one harmless comment about travel sizes, and suddenly, I'm public enemy number one. My name's Jessica. I'm 29 years old and work in social media marketing, so I know how these things spiral out of control, but this is insane. I tried calling my boss Sandra to explain I might be late tomorrow, and she said, "Don't bother coming in this week, we need to discuss your social media presence." My social media presence? I barely post anything personal. The sliding door to the backyard is locked too, and David took the key. I keep checking my phone, hoping anyone will offer to help, but instead, I'm getting notifications that people are unfriending me on Facebook. My coworker Mike texted, "Saw what happened at the restaurant last night. That was brutal even for you. Even for me. What does that mean?" I found David's laptop in the bedroom and tried to log into his email to see if I could figure out what everyone's so upset about. The password hint says, "First place we were intimate," and I tried our apartment, bedroom, kitchen, even the car, but nothing works. How can he change his password after 2 years together? Looking back, maybe I can see how we got to this point, but honestly, it started so innocently. We met at that networking event downtown in January, and he seemed so sweet and shy. I remember thinking he needed someone confident to bring him out of his shell. When we started dating, I was just being myself, honest and direct. If you can't be real with your partner, who can you be real with? The first time I noticed his situation was our third date when things got intimate. I mean, it was hard not to notice, and I thought we were close enough to joke about it. I said something like, "Good thing they make travel size everything these days." And he got this weird look on his face. I told him I was just being playful, but he seemed embarrassed for no reason. I mean, we're adults here. After that, he started acting all sensitive about it, and I had to keep reassuring him that size doesn't matter to me, which honestly, it doesn't. But then he'd get upset when I'd make little comments to help him not take himself so seriously. Like when we were shopping and passed the pharmacy section, I said, "Hey, look your aisle," pointing to the travel-size toiletries, and he actually stormed off. I had to chase him down and explain I was just trying to keep things light between us. The problems really started when we went to his friend Mark's birthday party in March. We were all drinking and having fun, and Mark was showing off these funny photos on his phone. When he got to this one picture of a tiny sports car, I said, "Hey, David, that's your dream car, right?" And everyone started laughing. David pulled me aside and said that wasn't funny, but I told him everyone was just enjoying my sense of humor and he needed to lighten up. His friends seemed to love my honesty, though. Mark's girlfriend Sarah said I was hilarious and asked if I always roast my boyfriend like that. I explained that real love means being able to laugh at each other's quirks, and David was just being oversensitive. They all agreed he needed to develop thicker skin. Things escalated at Easter dinner with his family in April. His mum made this huge spread, and we were all sitting around the table having wine when his dad started telling stories about David as a kid. I thought it was the perfect time to share some funny stories about our relationship, so I told them about how David always insists on XS condoms, but the pharmacy only carries them online. His mum almost choked on her wine, and his sister Rachel looked mortified. David excused himself to the bathroom and was gone for like 20 minutes. When he came back, his face was all red and he barely spoke the rest of the night. On the drive home, he said, "I can't believe you told my family that." and I said, "They're going to be my family too. Someday, we should all be comfortable with each other." He said it wasn't about comfort, it was about humiliation, but I told him that was all in his head. Rachel actually called me the next day and said maybe I should tone it down a little because David was really upset. I explained that I was just trying to fit in with their family's sense of humor, and she said, "That wasn't humor, Jessica, that was cruel." Cruel? I was being inclusive and fun. If David wasn't so insecure about something completely normal, none of this would be an issue. By May, I started posting some funny couple memes on Instagram about our size differences. Nothing too specific, just general jokes about how opposites attract. I posted this cute meme that said, "When you're a size queen, but love comes in all packages," with a picture of us where I'm clearly taller. David saw it and asked me to take it down, but I told him social media is about authenticity, and our friends love seeing our real dynamic. My follow account was actually going up because people found our relationship entertaining. The next week, I shared this hilarious post about travel-size boyfriends with a photo of David next to my carry-on luggage. The caption said, "Perfect for flights, fits in overhead compartment," and I got like 200 likes, which was way more than my usual posts. My coworker Sarah from marketing shared it and said, "Girl, you are too funny," but David was not amused. He said it was embarrassing, but I pointed out that Sarah works in social media, so she knows good content when she sees it. I started posting more relationship content because the engagement was amazing. There was this trending audio about compact cars versus luxury vehicles, and I did a video pointing at David when it said compact and at myself for luxury. It got shared to 3 different Instagram story accounts, and even some random people started following me. David found out when his friend Mark sent him a screenshot and asked if he was okay with me posting that stuff. David confronted me about it and I said, "It's just social media humor, babe. Everyone does couple content." My most popular post was this photo of us at Target in the travel size aisle. I captioned it, "Taking my boyfriend shopping in his favorite section," and tagged him so all his friends would see it. The post got over 400 likes and 50 comments, with people using crying laughing emojis. Even my boss Sandra liked it, which I thought was a good sign for my career. But David was mortified and begged me to delete it. I said, "This is who we are, why should I hide our dynamic?" The comments were hilarious though. My friend Lisa wrote, "You two are relationship goals," and my cousin Amy said, "Love how honest you are about everything." David's friend Mark commented, "Dude, you're a good sport," which I thought was sweet, but David said Mark was being sarcastic and felt bad for him. I didn't see it that way at all. Mark was acknowledging David's sense of humor about himself. I kept posting because the algorithm was favoring my content. Instagram started suggesting me to more people, and I gained like 100 new followers in 2 weeks. I posted a series called Travel Size Tuesday, where I'd share memes and jokes about compact things and tag David in all of them. One was a picture of airplane bottles of alcohol with the caption, "When your boyfriend and the minibar have something in common." And David's notifications were going crazy from all the tags. His coworkers started following my account too, which I thought was great for networking. Mr. Peterson, from his accounting firm, liked several of my posts and even commented, "You two seem fun," on the Target photo. I told David this was good for his career because his boss could see he had a girlfriend with a good sense of humor. But David said Peterson was probably just being polite and asked me to stop tagging him in posts. The breaking point with social media was when I posted a photo from Victoria's Secret. I was holding up an XS men's thong as a joke and captioned it, "Finally found something that fits my boyfriend perfectly," with David tagged. That post went semi-viral, with over 800 likes, and got shared to some meme accounts. People were DMing me saying I was hilarious and asking if I did comedy. I felt like I was finally finding my voice online. But David completely freaked out about the Victoria's Secret post. He said his entire office saw it because Peterson's wife followed me and shared it to her story. David claimed Peterson called him into his office to ask if everything was okay at home and suggested he might want to take some personal time. I told David he was being paranoid. Peterson was probably just making sure David felt supported. But David made me promise to stop posting about our relationship, which felt like he was trying to control my creative expression. I tried to respect his wishes, but social media moves fast, and I didn't want to lose the momentum I'd built. Plus, people kept asking where the funny couple content went. So, I posted more subtle things, like photos of small cars, with captions about cute compact things, without directly tagging David. Technically, I wasn't breaking my promise, but David said I was still obviously talking about him. I argued that if he wasn't so insecure about a normal physical trait, he wouldn't assume every post was about him. The breaking point should have been when we went to his company picnic in June. I was trying to network and make a good impression on his co-workers since we'd been talking about moving in together. We were playing volleyball, and someone made a joke about small hands, and I said, "You should see what else is small," while looking at David. Everyone laughed, and I thought it was a great icebreaker. But then David's boss, Mr. Peterson, pulled him aside, and they had this serious conversation. Later, David told me Peterson suggested he take some time off to deal with personal matters, and David blamed me for potentially damaging his career. I told him he was being paranoid, and his boss was probably just concerned about his confidence issues. The next week, David's sister Rachel invited us to her engagement party and specifically asked me not to make any jokes about David in front of her fiancé's family. I promised to be on my best behavior, but then during the toasts, Rachel's future mother-in-law mentioned how important it is for couples to support each other through insecurities. I thought it was a perfect opportunity to share how I helped David embrace his uniqueness. So I stood up and said, "David's taught me that the best things really do come in small packages." The whole room went silent and Rachel burst into tears. Her fiancé's family looked confused and uncomfortable, while David's family looked furious. David grabbed my arm and dragged me outside where he said, "We're leaving right now," in this scary voice I'd never heard before. On the drive home he said, "I'm done, Jessica, I can't do this anymore." But I told him he was overreacting to one innocent comment. That's when he started setting all these ridiculous boundaries about what I could and couldn't say. He made me promise not to mention anything about his body to anyone ever again, which seemed extreme. I told him healthy relationships require honesty and communication, but he said, "This isn't honesty, it's humiliation," and threatened to break up if I didn't stop. I tried to respect his wishes, but it was so hard when perfect opportunities kept presenting themselves. Like when we went to his college reunion in July, and his old roommate Jim was talking about their dorm room being so tiny. I just made one little comment about David feeling right at home in small spaces, and he completely lost it. He said I promised, and I told him I was just making conversation, not talking about his body specifically. The worst part was his friends and family started treating me differently after that. His mum stopped inviting me to family dinners, and his sister wouldn't return my calls. Even his friends seemed uncomfortable around me, like they were walking on eggshells. I felt like everyone was ganging up on me for having a personality and sense of humor. By August, David was barely talking to me and spent most of his time at work or the gym. When I tried to discuss our relationship problems, he said I needed to understand how my jokes affected him, but I explained that if he wasn't so sensitive about a natural physical trait, we wouldn't have these issues. I suggested couples therapy, but he said, "You need individual therapy to understand why you think humiliating your partner is love." That really hurt because I was just trying to help him accept himself. I never meant to humiliate anyone, I was being supportive and fun. But David started documenting everything I said, like he was building some kind of case against me. He'd write down every comment in this little notebook and show it to his therapist. When I found the notebook, I couldn't believe he was treating our relationship like a legal proceeding. Things came to a head last weekend at his cousin's wedding. We were seated at the family table, and everyone was sharing relationship advice for the newlyweds. When it was my turn, I said something about how important it is to laugh at each other's shortcomings and mentioned that David and I had learned to joke about everything, including his compact size. I thought it was sweet and relatable, but David's entire family stared at me like I'd said something horrible. His Aunt Linda said, "Jessica, that's enough," and his Uncle Bob shook his head in disgust. The bride's family looked confused and uncomfortable, while David's family looked mortified. David stood up and said, "We're leaving," but I hadn't finished my toast. In the parking lot, his whole family surrounded us, and his mom said, "David, you don't have to live like this," while his sister said, "She's destroying your self-esteem and we can't watch anymore." His cousin the groom actually said, "Dude, what she's doing to you isn't normal," and his dad said, "Son, you deserve better than someone who humiliates you publicly." I tried to explain that we have an honest relationship where we can joke about everything, but his Aunt Linda said, "That wasn't joking, Jessica, that was cruelty," and his mom said, "You've been systematically destroying his confidence for months." They were acting like I was some kind of monster, instead of a loving girlfriend trying to keep things fun and real. David didn't say anything. He just stood there looking defeated while his family rallied around him. Finally, he looked at me and said, "It's over, Jessica, I can't do this anymore," and walked away with his family. I followed them back to his parents' house, trying to explain, but his dad said, "You're not welcome here anymore," and shut the door in my face. I drove home crying and confused about how everything had gotten so twisted. All I'd ever done was try to love David completely, including his insecurities. I was the one person who accepted him exactly as he was, and somehow I became the villain. That night, I kept calling and texting, but he wouldn't respond to anything. Yesterday morning, I went to his apartment to try to work things out face to face. I used my key, but all my stuff was packed in boxes by the door, and he'd changed the locks on the bedroom and bathroom. He said, "Take your things and leave," and when I tried to explain myself, he said, "I'm recording this conversation for my lawyer." His lawyer? For what? I wasn't doing anything illegal. I told him he was being dramatic and we could work through this like adults, but he said, "You've humiliated me in front of everyone I care about for months, and you still don't think you did anything wrong." I said, "I was just being myself and loving you honestly." But he said, "That wasn't love, Jessica, that was abuse." Abuse? That's when I knew his family had poisoned him against me. I never abused anyone, I was just more confident and outgoing than he was comfortable with. But instead of growing as a person, he chose to listen to people who wanted to break us up. I gathered my boxes and left, but I told him, "You'll regret this when you realize what you're giving up." Last night, I posted on Facebook about how sometimes loving someone completely means they can't handle your authenticity. I thought my friends would be supportive, but instead I got comments like, "Girl, what you did at that wedding was not okay," and "I've been wanting to say something for months, but your jokes about David were getting really mean." Mean? I was being playful and honest. Then someone posted a video of my toast at the wedding, and I watched it trying to see what everyone was so upset about. I looked confident and happy, sharing relationship advice, while David looked embarrassed, but that's just his personality. The comments under the video were horrible, calling me toxic and cruel and saying David deserved better. How can people be so judgmental about someone else's relationship? This morning, I woke up to dozens of messages and missed calls. Apparently, the wedding video had been shared hundreds of times overnight, and people from high school and college were commenting about how they always knew something was wrong with me. My boss Sandra called and said, "We need to discuss your employment status given the negative attention you're bringing to our company." That's when I decided to go to David's apartment and make him explain what was happening. But when I got here with my spare key, he'd already changed all the locks. I was banging on the door demanding we talk when he opened it just wide enough to grab my purse and pull out my passport. He said, "You're not going anywhere until you understand what you've done," and slammed the door. Now I'm trapped in here while he's apparently at work acting like the victim. Every door and window is locked, and my phone keeps buzzing with more people cutting me out of their lives. My own mother texted, "I raised you better than this, Jessica. You need to look at yourself honestly." But I have been honest this whole time, that's the problem. I keep thinking about David's face at the wedding when I was giving my toast. He looked so hurt and embarrassed, but I thought he was just being his usual oversensitive self. Maybe I could have been more private about our intimate details, but relationships require honesty and acceptance. If he can't handle someone who loves him completely, flaws and all, then maybe we weren't meant to be together. But looking at all these messages and seeing how everyone turned against me so quickly makes me think there's something I'm missing. David's sister Rachel texted, "I hope someday you understand the damage you caused." And his mom sent, "You broke my son's spirit and will never forgive you." His coworker Mike wrote, "Dude shared your posts about him with us and we're all disgusted." What posts? I never posted anything mean about David. I scroll through my Instagram and see the travel-size memes and couple jokes, but they're funny and relatable. Maybe they're a little specific, but that's what makes them authentic. I was sharing our real relationship, not some fake perfect version like other couples post. The doorbell just rang, and I can see through the window it's David's dad, with some official-looking man in a suit. They're probably here to check on me, or maybe serve me with some kind of restraining order. I don't understand how wanting to love someone completely and honestly turned into this legal nightmare. My boss just texted, "Don't come in tomorrow, we're putting you on administrative leave pending investigation of your social media conduct." Investigation? I'm a social media coordinator. My job is literally about being authentic online. How can they punish me for being myself? I tried calling David's number one more time, and it went straight to voicemail. His message says, "If this is Jessica, stop calling. I've saved all your messages for my lawyer." Lawyer again. What kind of legal case could he possibly have? I never threatened him or damaged his property. I just made some jokes that he took too seriously. The video of my wedding toast keeps getting shared, and now it has thousands of views. People are calling it the most cringeworthy public humiliation ever and a masterclass in emotional abuse. Emotional abuse? I was giving relationship advice and sharing our story. If David didn't want me to mention our intimate details, he should have communicated that clearly, instead of just looking uncomfortable. Reading through all these comments is making me feel sick. People are analyzing every word I said and calling me narcissistic and cruel. One person wrote, "This woman destroyed her boyfriend's dignity piece by piece and filmed herself doing it." Another said, "I hope he gets a restraining order, she's clearly unstable." Unstable? I'm the most stable person in this relationship. I'm starting to realize that maybe everyone really is against me, and I'm not going to get a fair hearing. David's family poisoned him against me, and now they're turning everyone else against me too. All because I dared to love someone honestly and completely, without hiding behind fake niceness like everyone else. The house is getting dark and I can't find the light switches. David must have turned off the power too. My phone battery is dying, and I still have dozens of unread messages, probably all telling me what a horrible person I am. I never thought loving someone authentically would make me this hated, but apparently, people prefer fake relationships over real ones. I can hear voices outside and car doors slamming. Sounds like more people are coming to check on me, or maybe to arrest me for being too honest in my relationship. I never did anything illegal, I just refused to pretend David's insecurities weren't there. But apparently that makes me a monster in everyone's eyes. All I did was make one travel-sized joke, and now I'm trapped in here like a prisoner, while everyone acts like I committed some horrible crime. Subscribe if you think public humiliation is never okay in relationships. Hit like if you've ever known someone who thought cruelty was just being honest. What would you have done if someone posted intimate details about you online? Let me know in the comments.